Bhante Buddhadatta Thera to give the Dhamma talk for this Sunday.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, to the Perfect One, to the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Noble Dhamma and the Holy Sangha. Most Venerable Dhammaratana Bhante and members of the Maha Sangha. Dear Venerable monks and upasakas and upasikas. Blessings and metta and Namo Buddhaya to all of you. Just now we have finished this meditation session, and prior to that we also did chanting, the recitation of Dhamma, the reflection of Dhamma. This Vasa, the monks have entered into the 3 months retreats and thereby intensifying their practice for the Dhamma, delighting in the Dhamma, taking joy in the Dhamma. So also, you have also made up your mind to spend this rains retreat in your capacity to dedicate some time for the practice, dedicate some time at least to give up something, to commit something, to purify your virtues, to give some dana, and so on and so forth. I don't know what is your intention in your mind. You know that. What have you decided? Nevertheless, I will also talk about the Buddha's first vasa, the importance of this first rains retreat, which was not only historical in terms of completing the 3 jewels. The Buddha's vasa led to the completion of Triratana, Buddhadattta, Dhammadattta, and Sangha Ratana. And this vasa brings to the world the Sangha, literally this noble Sangha comprising of the 5 enlightened disciples, and therefore this monastic Sangha come into existence, and followed by the Vasa, the rains retreat. When we look into the life of the Buddha, after his enlightenment in the month of Vaisakha, and then after his enlightenment, he was thinking and musing whether I should teach the Dhamma or not. Because the Buddha says this Dhamma is Gambhiro. This Dhamma is so profound and also very subtle. At the same time, the beings are caught off in ignorance. The Buddha says, give an example of Andabhutasming Lokasming, and then say Abhijaya Avata, that means like an egg covered with an outer cell. Likewise, the beings are covered with this ignorance, so that it is very difficult to understand these teachings. So Buddha was thinking and reluctant to actually teach the Dhamma. But his boundless compassion and wisdom further, he realized that There are beings with little dust in their eyes, and they will also pay attention. So they are open with a request of Brahma, Sahampati. The Buddha thought to give his teachings and open these doors of deathlessness, open this path to deathlessness to all sentient beings, not only humans, but all divine beings, those who want to be free from dukkha, free from sufferings. So the Buddha walked on all the way from Bodhi tree and taking these walking expeditions. He walked all the way from Bodhi tree to where? To Varanasi, Saranath, Migadaya. On the way, there was an interesting episode happened that these ascetics, ajivakas, even now we have these ajivakas, you can see, the wandering monks. They wander all about, and for them there's nothing, they just wandered. So he asked, when by just encountering the Buddha, this man, this ascetic asked, who are you? And what is the teachings you profess? And who is your teacher? Now the Buddha understood that this is all his omniscient knowledge, and already supremely enlightened Buddha. Whom should he actually call the teacher? Then the Buddha said, "Na me acharya ati sadiso me na vijjati sadeva kasming lokasming nati me paripugalo." It's like that in the text. It comes, it means there is no acharyas for me. Having realized all the dhammas with my own effort and wisdom and perfections, with this knowledge of Shabanyuta, I have realized this Dhamma. So that is, whom should I call a teacher? So then he says, I am a victor. Buddha said, I am a victor, because I have won this victory over the Mara. Well, now the Buddha reached this Isipatana, and then you know what happened afterwards. Maybe in the previous last Sunday, we celebrated this day, which is the marking of the giving this first sermon, the Buddha's first sermon, which is called the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Now, after these 5 monks, they were all established. After hearing the first discourse, you know, the first discourse is the framework of Buddha's teachings. Whatever the Buddha taught during his 45 years, he actually have envisioned his path, his role. Everything was set in, completely established in this discourse called the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Now after this discourse, again the Buddha and his 5 disciples, along with the 54 friends of the Prince Yasa. You might have heard about Yasa. Yasa was a very wealthy, belongs to a wealthy family. But his ordination happened during this Vasa. Now, this incident is also very striking, that how Yasha found peace, because he was tortured and oppressed by all these, even though he had 3 palaces and very wealthy son of a merchant in Varanasi. But still, one night this Yasa says, oppressed am I, suppressed am I from these worldly things. Like you also say, no? Oppressed and suppressed am I in my life. So Yasha has nothing to worry, but he didn't find delights in these so-called pleasures of the senses. So he was wandering in these woods and then found a peaceful, this um, Migadaya where the Buddha was living, and then he was crying and crying, and just for nothing. You may say it is for nothing, but for him, he realized the ultimate suffering, suffering of kilesas, not suffering from the world, suffering from this recurring existence, suffering which is born out of his own mind, and this sankhara, the formations. So the Buddha says, peace is here. Oh yasa, in the Ida upasama, the peace is here. Come here. Therefore, the Buddha, he encounters the Buddha, and the Buddha taught him this Anupubhikatha, the very special discourse, and then the yasa got established in he became an Aryas. Subsequently, his father and mother also became Sotapannas. So I will not give you, that is the brief background, but today's the main theme would be the delighting and finding joy in our own life. Now, this Vasa, we have all taken off this rains retreat, 3 months, and in 3 months, we have to find joy and happiness, right? Joy and happiness not in terms of the worldly things or the everyday what you do. Anyway, you know you them, even though you don't wish for, but you still pursue after them. But here the Buddha says that how do you find happiness and joy with respect to Dhamma? And then how do you fill and complete your life with joy and happiness? So there are today I'll be explaining about 6 different factors. Maybe you have many such factors. If I ask you what is that which gives you happiness, then you may say, okay, morning time I will take my dog to walk and then I'll find happiness. Okay. Or you may say that I have some pet animals in my life, in my home. I find happiness. It's just to be with them. Or maybe you like to test a different sort of food and then you find happiness. Or for somebody who has some other kind of importance and priority, he may say, I'll go for some exercise or I go for some adventures and so on. We can define in many different ways uh, the same happiness. We can define in so many ways. Or weekends, don't go to the vihara, go to the shopping mall. You have so many sense objects and you have everything in one place, supermarkets and things are moving around. You can see what you like, you can eat what you like, you can hear what you like, or you can, I mean, if nothing goes, then you have so many mental thoughts that comes to the mind and you delight in the thoughts. The thoughts becomes an object of your things. Like, nowadays the trend is like this in the cities, don't go to the vihara. Why? Go to a shopping mall then, because that is the place, the pleasure-seeking place where you find pleasures. Um, and for 1 week, you don't need any kind of pleasure. Then you go to work, day in, day out, same thing, and then you say, "Oh, again weekend, where should I go?" So this is ordinary way of defining the happiness. So the Buddha said, these are not really the happiness which can last forever or for a long time. If really that lasts, then you don't need to seek again. Do you understand that point? If that happiness is really long lasting, why do you seek the next week? You watch something, a very thrilling adventure, some sort of movie, but then again you want to watch it, right? Your pleasure doesn't stop. That means your pleasures get renewed. You don't want that, but you want something else. So here the Buddha says that Dhamma Ramo. There are six sort of delights in the Dhamma. The first is delighting in delighting in listening Dhamma, for example, or delighting in reciting the text or reciting the paritas along with us. How many of you find happiness? In this hall, if you take a statistics or a data, how many of you really find it? Yes, there are some of you, maybe sometimes we feel so joyful that simply the tears roll out, you know? Might be some of you, when the heart is suffused with these devotions and faith, then you unknowingly the tears just roll out. Just because of the joy of gratitude to the Buddha, the joy of finding this Dhamma, or even the joy of being here and enjoying this moment and practice together. We just lost ourselves. Many times, sometimes it happens to me when I chant, this some goosebumps happens. I don't know. It just like that. When the mind is very focused and you don't feel anything. This is a supreme a kind of joy the Buddha defines is much more importance of taking the dog for a walk. There is an interesting example. Even the dogs wants happiness. I will tell you later on in this course. Uh, for example, somebody follows the eight precepts in this vasa. You take off your the astasila. For you, that is a happiness, right? How many of you have taken the eight precepts in during this vasa? Astasila. I will give up eating at the night. Already we are eating non-stop, feeding the body all the time. So we sacrifice, or we just give up certain kind of entertainments. Or some of you having a dana nature, then you come and offer generosity, offer dana, come into the vihara with your, food in the hands, the saddha in your heart. You come and then you offer, and then you find joy right there. Some of you having very compassionate heart. You don't really sit quietly when you see somebody suffering. An old person is suffering and finding difficult to cross the road, and then you help him. Or he want some food, you give him some food. Happy? You are happy. Provided that you have the compassion, the mental factor is here, karuna and metta. Without that, you won't find happiness. You will just overlook that person and just went by. You don't care. So I just said how you find delights in Dhamma. Not finding delights in the shopping mall, because you have to compare that. And this Dhamma is something which gives you more satisfactions and happiness. All right. The then next factors comes is bhavana ramo. Meditation can be a delightful experience provided that you do it. You cultivate every day metta bhavana, for example, or you take up anapanasati and you dedicate some time in the early morning. You get up with this peaceful surroundings and settings. You wake up, and the first thing you do is sit down and then observe the breathing. Just calm down the body, right? Calm down the body, reduce your thoughts. Then you'll find that your all the mental hindrances are subdued. Then you find delights, you find joy. A joy which is born just out of your concentration, nothing else. Here, joy is not conditioned by anything. So it's called this Niramisa Sukha. It is unconditioned happiness where you don't have to depend on anything. All other Sukha, what you are actually we normally we seek, is all conditioned. You want happiness, you want to see something, you want to watch something or hear something. You depend on this sensory object. Then the happiness, you derive that happiness. But meditation experience is beyond that. Where we do samatha bhavana. Many of you know samatha bhavana, tranquility and calm meditation. You do it and you find happiness. Your hindrances are um, suppressed. Your lobha, dosa, and moha are suppressed. You attain fairly a fair amount of concentration, maybe the access concentration. But however may be the samatha, you have to do vipassana. In samatha bhavana, your mind is concentrated and you find joy, although temporarily. But the vipassana bhavana will take you further and it will lead you to attaining the higher happiness. Samatha can take you to rupa vachara. It take you to the realms of the form and formless spheres. But still, you are in this world. You still remain in this world. Although you have jhana, but you are not free. Vipassana bhavana, which maybe some of you are doing already, it just takes you to the cessation of all the sufferings and will lead you to cessation of birth, rebirth, and death. That means vipassana removes the defilements in its totality. It removes defilements without reminder. In the light of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, you should see through everything with these universal characteristics of impermanence and then non-self and unsatisfactoriness. How many of you delight in meditation or you delight in sleeping? Another happiness is sleeping as well because you sleep so much. So much so that you know what is that. Sleeping is, for us, it is not enough. We don't find enoughness in sleeping. We're sleeping all the more. Even though we sleep early, still we don't say it is enough. If we sleep late, no doubt, you have to sleep more. You see, you work or don't work, sleeping is very important. We don't are ready to give up anything. Let's meditate. Oh, no, I have to sleep. Sometimes you may find so many excuses. Oh, I have a headache, I have a this pain, I have a that pain, I can't sit straight. How can I meditate? But no matter what, when we find joy in meditation, our life becomes wonderful, you know. And in that sense, I can say you are protected. I can say you are giving time for own development. You are growing in happiness. You are growing in happiness. You are not searching this happiness outside. So the vipassana, uh, the bhavana sukha is a higher kind of happiness. Just now I mentioned the bhavana sukha. Then we have the giving up. Pahana sukhang, this sukha is something like taking happiness in giving up. Now, many times here is not giving up means any material thing. No, giving up your own unwholesome actions. Our ignorance is so strong that we actually harming ourselves. Our ignorance and craving is so strong, we don't know that what actions should bring me happiness. What actions would bring me sufferings? In what way, in what skillful manner I have to take up my actions? Right? The action has power for happiness, action has power for miseries as well. It is as simple as that. So, when we say this, the third factor of delighting in uh, giving up this unwholesome things, that means, let's say the lova arises in the mind. You have lova. How do you give up that lova? You ask such questions. When there is lova in the mind, I will use the power of meditation. I will use these contemplations, or contemplation of renunciation, contemplation of, asubhanusati, meditation on the realities of life, the nature of life, and then the lova is reduced. You have the thoughts about anger. How do you give up that anger? You find pleasure in anger, right? You find happiness in anger. But to give up that anger, you have to apply metta, loving kindness. Then your anger will be gone, right? When there is love, for example, there is no anger, no animosity, no cruelty, nothing. But when there is absence of this love, whether it is your in the family or metta, selfless love, but absolutely there is no anger. We promote each other's harmony, we promote well-being, we have concern for the person. Likewise, you have ignorance, then you contemplate on the qualities of Lord Buddha, the qualities of awakenment, the qualities of Buddha's enlightenment. Or you focus your mind on the breathing, then your ignorance is no more. Ignorance, you know what? Ignorance of not knowing yourself. At that moment, when you are not knowing yourself, you are ignorant. Don't think that I'm a big, big, wise, and very saintly person. Your all the degrees will not matter when you don't know the ignorance has come into mind. You can go to the certificate, oh, I have this certificate of doctorate in this, my ignorance may go away. That's happen like that. The only thing can save you is your own mindfulness, your own wisdom at that time. Your continuous awareness will tells you that this is ignorance. You are not acting with wisdom. Well, the fourth factor, I will not go on because this time is, I have to complete in that. So I have told so far the three kind of happiness so far, and then we have the happiness of Dhamma, first qualities, and how do you practice? I've given an outline. How do you practice this Dhamma so that you find joy and happiness in your own life? The second factor, as I said, is meditation, that everybody can do it, right? The third is by giving up. The giving up of your lova, dosa, and moha. The fourth factor comes is here finding delights in seclusion. Now, point comes here. What kind of seclusion are you talking about? Should I go to a forest, retreat myself to a forest, finding seclusion there because I'm not affected by the chaos and the hustles and bustles of the city, my office, my family, my work? Oh, finding seclusions here means finding seclusions with your body first, finding seclusion with the mind, and then finding seclusions with your own defilements. There are three kind of um, Viveka. The three kinds of viveka, the Buddha said, is kaya viveka, chitta viveka, and upati viveka. You may actually aloof yourself. For example, you come to the vihara. It is actually practicing this seclusion. Practicing seclusion so that it gives you a conducive environment to practice, to balance your life, to have an urgency, or to have a time for yourself to reflect and listen to Dhamma, or meditate, or chant together, or fulfill some good qualities. The seclusion of body is one level. Then the next level is the seclusions in terms of your mind. When you enter into a meditation center and then you practice meditation, right? And all your, then you are aloof, not only to the body, but you are dedicating and trying to train yourself, train your mind. That is one kind of viveka, seclusion. But the ultimate seclusion is the seclusion from the mental defilements, total absence of kilesas, hindrances, and bondage. That is, in that way, we are free. We can say we are totally free from these pollutants and mental defilements. Then you are secluded from the kilesas. And that happens to the arhants, the perfect ones. Now, the common beings, they won't realize this kind of seclusion. We realize, for example, for our for common beings, finding this bodily seclusion is even more important, even more difficult, not important. In the sense, Bangalore population may be how much? 1.1 crore, more than 1 crores. Now, if you take a statistics data that how many people really finding seclusion at this time, at particular place, we will see that most of the beings they caught up in certain some or other way. They don't find that bodily seclusions. Going to a secluded place. In your case, it is vihara. In your case, it is vihara. But if you see, either they are finding hard to break their habits or their defilements or their family settings or conditions, we don't allow them to come here. Then forget about the mental seclusions. Then forget about your defilements. That is how you should understand how this seclusion works. However, to grow in Dhamma, we need seclusion time to time. For everybody, I would suggest that you should take up a retreat, a meditation retreat about 5 days or 10 days in a year. Go away. Go away from the world. Live like you have nothing. Train yourself. In that way, you can develop your paramis. You can prepare yourself for the practice of Dhamma. So these four factors which I so far told you is very, very important. Finding happiness in seclusions. For example, now you are happy here. Maybe may not be happy, or some be either happy nor happy. Just sitting here. Not happy, not unhappy, but sitting here. The three kind of feelings you may experience here. But at least you are away from your home, your families, right? In that sense, you are fulfilling some amount of paramis of leaving home. ನನಗೆ ಬೇಡ ಇದು ಕನ್ನಡಮೇ you can speak ಬೇಡಪ್ಪ ಇದು ಆಯ್ತು I have enough already. Morning I wake up listening, quarreling, fighting, crying. If not crying, The children will say, Mommy, give me this, give me that. Oh, you go to the kitchen, you start the day. Or you have nothing to do and then you sleep. So that way, we cannot fulfill paramis. Paramis cannot be fulfilled by just lying down and just lazing around all the time. Can you fulfill parami like that? So the next factor comes here is abhyapaja sukhang. Sukha, another kind of happiness is not creating your own sufferings, not creating your own sufferings, afflictions. By delighting in Dhamma, as I said earlier, you are creating good conditions and better conditions. By not delighting in Dhamma, you are creating condition for your sufferings. So the Buddha said here that how do you um, not invite these problems? Who can answer me? How can you not invite your own problems? You are afflicted, doesn't you? You are tormented and oppressed by some or other ways, if not the external conditions, but many times our own internal conditions, either through your avijja, either through your craving, either through your own wrong understanding, either your own ego problems. I am only right person, other person is not right. What I say is absolutely correct. Other party says you will never even listen to him or her views. So this is like that. When I say that you're inviting you these problems or creating the sufferings through these craving and views and your the the ego, this create your cycle of sufferings. Maybe it is very subtle to understand, but you should think about it. How you suffer just by not changing your views, right? The story I should tell you now that this one pet dog was there in a very rich families, and dog was very a German dog. Every day, the owner, no doubt, takes it to the walk and give him nice food and so on. So these dogs, very cute dog, very healthy dog. Then every day around nap time, what happens is dog found out the neighbors in this vicinity, some neighborhood, and then um, it goes there and nicely sleeps from say about 12 to 1 o'clock. So it goes there every day. So the auntie saw it. Okay, this dog looks so cute and very nice one. He doesn't make any noise, nothing, just goes there, sit there, sleep nicely. So the auntie said, very good, it's nice dog. Okay, you sleep. So weeks and months passed. The dog still comes there. So she wondered, well, whose owner may be this dog? Why this dog don't stay in his owner's house? So she got an idea that I should write it a paper and then tie around the neck and says, who is the owner of this dog? Your dog comes to my house to sleep. So see, the dog went again, and then the owner saw there is a piece of paper was just around the neck, and then he read somebody's asking question. And then the next day, this owner write another piece of paper and then send it back. Then dog comes back to sleep because it is sleeping time is 12 to 1. So it says, there's a lot of fighting and noise in my house. Dog want happiness. Dog want to sleep. Since he doesn't get sleep, he goes to house to sleep there. So, oh, that owner got, okay, this is the matter in the family. Even the dog don't find peace because all the time there is a lot of noise and chaos. Therefore, the dog had to leave that owner's place and come to this neighborhood to sleep. The story is here ending. It means that how happiness, even the first thing is this example of dog is that it want to sleep quietly, but the family environment is not allowing, and the dog realizes that I can find happiness somewhere, and he just quietly left and then sleeps there. Even animals also feels. So the moral of this story is how we can find, how we can be live our life such a way that we also find joy and happiness. Also, our pet dogs or the people with us, they also find happiness. So after this story, I was talking about this sukha of non-dwelling in unwholesome things or finding the abhyapaja sukha, non-afflictions, non-afflictions. And then the last kind of happiness is called nippapancha. Now this nippapancha sukha is something is very, very important. I just say that how prapancha means this worldly things, you know. Now, as I said earlier, that how our craving, our views, our mana, our ditthi, this creates suffering. But the complete elimination of complete absence of this craving, this mana, or our views will turn the tide, will lead us to the cessation of all sufferings. Now, here means that when we practice the Satipatthana meditation, or when you practice the Noble Eightfold Path, you are actually turning away from the world and you are making end of all this conditioned world. You are no more delight in conditioned world. Rather, you are walking on the path towards enlightenment. So the delight in this noble path will lead you to freedom from this recurring existence. Now, what the Buddha here means is that we should delight in in Dhamma so that it will not promote our rebirth. You should not delight in this ignorance or ditthi or your mana because that create your cycles. It's called samsara chakra. It will not foster your rebirth, right? When I say foster means when you proliferate in kilesas, then the kilesa water will run, the kilesa chakra. When you delight in Dhamma, then the Dhamma chakra will run. It is very simple. Most of the times we are proliferating in our own defilements, and the defilement cycle is going on and on. But when you want to break the chain, which means that you have to delight in the Dhamma, the noble Dhamma here means the noble eightfold path. Then this papancha, this conditioned world, the world which is governed by the conditioned things, things are dependent, codependent on each other. So you can go beyond that. So the last part is delighting in Dhamma so that you stop your own rebirth. So you not promote this recurring existence again and again. So there, so far we understood that six delights. I give an example of different sort of delights, uh, through how we derive, we seek through our senses. But now in this instance, it is no more, no worldly conditions are there. You delight in your generosity, virtues, and meditation. You delight in listening and discussing Dhamma, reciting Dhamma. You delighting in performing goodness and removing your akushalas, right? And you delight in, you know, not your lobha, dosa, or moha. You delight in Srila Samadhi Panya, or the noble paths and noble truths. So this delight is by far the supreme delights, mm, cannot be compared with any kind of delights which I so far discussed, you know. So the Buddha says, Sabba rating, Dhamma rating jinati. That means among all delights, the happiness which we receive, which we gain through Dhamma practice is highest, is by far the excellent ones, because it is not dependent on anything. Therefore, you find happiness here, not at home. If I ask you, which happiness is more superior and more qualitative than your happiness at home, then you say, oh no, I have that happiness. Also, you want that, but I find more peaceful and joy when I'm coming to the vihara or when I practice meditation. That shows if with our little knowledge we also understand that happiness of Dhamma is superior, is highest. Because this happiness is not like here, you'll go to the next life and next life, subsequent lives, up to we attain Nibbana. Till we attain Nibbana, this happiness, these qualities which you cultivate, it will go with you. So today I will leave at this point. We discussed so far. What have we discussed? You remembered or not? If you are mindful, you remember. If you're just coming and going, many of them and they just come and go, like coming to samsara, going back to the samsara, coming again here, going back there. Okay, it is your choice. You know, life is yours. Many comes here, don't even sit for a while. Cannot sit, but they can sit hours for doing anything. It's all matters of our habit, of our dedication, our commitments, our priority. Also, sometimes it matters whether you are happy or not. The intention behind this is your joy. You find joy what you do. You find joy in Dhamma. Therefore, you practice Dhamma. If you don't find joy, you know, in doing this, then there's no point, right? So, with this, I will conclude here by having explained these suttas. These are important suttas from the Nikayas. May you all be happy and well. May you understand these factors conducive for our joy and happiness in our life. May you be able to cultivate them and realize them and see them in your life. May in the blessings of Triple Gem, blessings of Barabanti, blessings of all our great ajahns and teachers be with you all. May you all be well and happy. I share merits with everyone. Sadhu.